Now, let me be absolutely clear before we go any further. Walking remains one of the single greatest exercises for anyone over 50. Decades of research confirm it strengthens bones, improves cardiovascular health, lifts mood, sharpens memory, and adds years to your life. I am not here to scare you away from walking. I am here to make sure your walks actually help you, instead of slowly, silently breaking you down. Because the truth is, after 50, your body operates under a different set of rules. The collagen in your joints has thinned, the water content in your spinal discs has decreased. Your blood vessels respond differently to sudden exertion. And the walking habits you developed in your 20s or 30s, habits that felt perfectly fine for decades, may now be causing micro damage that accumulates week after week, month after month, until one morning you wake up and something just hurts, and you can't explain why. So today, we are going through 7 specific walking mistakes that people over 50 make constantly, often without the faintest idea that anything is wrong. For each one, I'll explain exactly what's happening inside your body, why it matters, and, most importantly, what to do instead. Stay with me through all 7, because number 5 is the one almost everybody gets backwards. Let's begin. Mistake number 1, wearing the wrong shoes, or wearing the right shoes for too long. This might sound basic. You've heard it before, someone telling you to wear good shoes. But what most people over 50 don't understand is how dramatically your foot changes with age, and how a shoe that felt supportive 18 months ago may now be working against you with every single step. After 50, the fat pads on the bottom of your feet, those natural cushions beneath your heel and the ball of your foot, begin to thin and flatten. Picture a kitchen sponge that's been wrung out 1,000 times. It still looks like a sponge, but the bounce is gone. That's your foot pad at 62. At the same time, the ligaments in your arch gradually stretch and loosen, which means your arch drops, sometimes by a full shoe size over the course of a decade. Your foot is literally becoming longer and wider, and most people never bother to get measured. So what happens when you walk 2 or 3 miles in a shoe that no longer matches your foot? Your heel strikes the pavement without adequate shock absorption. That impact travels straight up through your ankle, into your knee joint, and rattles the cartilage, the smooth, rubbery lining that keeps bone from scraping against bone. Healthy cartilage can handle this, but cartilage that's already thinner from age and natural wear gets bruised, microscopically frayed, a little more damaged with each outing. Meanwhile, if your arch support has collapsed inside that old shoe, your foot rolls inward, a movement called overpronation, and that inward roll torques your knee slightly out of alignment. Not enough that you'd notice while walking, just enough that the inner compartment of your knee absorbs more force than it should, step after step, mile after mile. Here's what to do instead. First, get your feet measured, both of them, at a proper shoe store, not online. Many people over 50 discover they've gone up a half size or even a full size without realizing it. Second, replace your walking shoes every 300 to 400 miles, which for a daily walker means roughly every 4 to 5 months. The outside of the shoe might still look fine. The midsole foam, where the real cushioning lives, compresses permanently long before the tread wears down. Third, consider a shoe with a firm heel counter. That's the rigid piece at the back of the shoe that cups your heel. Squeeze it with your fingers at the store. If it collapses easily, put it back on the shelf. Your heel needs a stable cradle, especially on uneven sidewalks and park trails. One more thing, if you walk in sandals, flip-flops, or flat canvas sneakers, stop. Those are not walking shoes. They are foot-shaped decorations, and your knees are paying the price every time you wear them for any distance. Mistake number 2, taking strides that are too long. This one is sneaky because it actually feels athletic. You're out on your morning walk, you feel good, the air is cool, and you start reaching forward with each step, stretching your leg out, covering more ground. It feels powerful, it feels efficient, and it is absolutely punishing your joints. When you overstride, when your front foot lands well ahead of your body's center of gravity, your leg is nearly straight at the moment of impact. That means your knee has almost no bend in it to absorb the shock. Instead of your muscles catching the force like a spring, the impact drives directly into the joint. Your kneecap gets jammed harder against the femur beneath it. The meniscus, that C-shaped piece of cartilage that acts like a shock absorber between your thigh bone and shin bone, takes a beating it was never designed for at this angle. Your lower back suffers too. Each overextended step pulls your pelvis forward into an exaggerated tilt, which compresses the lumbar discs, those spongy pads sitting between your lower vertebrae. Over weeks and months, that repetitive compression can aggravate bulging discs, irritate the sciatic nerve, and create that persistent low back ache that so many walkers blame on age when really it's a stride problem. The fix is beautifully simple. Shorten your step. Aim for your front foot to land almost directly beneath your hips, not out in front of them. Your knee should have a gentle, soft bend at the moment your foot touches the ground. Think of it as walking lightly, like you're trying not to wake someone sleeping in the next room. You'll notice something immediately. It feels quieter. Your footfalls become softer. That quietness is the sound of your joints being spared. Many people worry that shorter steps will slow them down. Actually, the opposite tends to happen. Shorter strides combined with a slightly quicker cadence, more steps per minute, often produces the same speed with far less impact. Aim for around 100 to 110 steps per minute. You can count for 30 seconds and double it, or use a free metronome app on your phone with one earbud in. Your knees will notice the difference within a week. Mistake number 3, skipping the warm-up entirely. Be honest with me right now. When you go for your walk, do you warm up first, or do you open the front door and just start going at full pace? If you're like most people over 50, there is no warm-up. There's just standing still, then walking. Here's why that matters more than you think. When you've been sitting or sleeping, the synovial fluid inside your knee joints, a viscous, egg white-like liquid that lubricates the cartilage surfaces, has settled. It's thicker, less evenly distributed. Your tendons and ligaments are cooler, stiffer, and less elastic. Your blood vessels are in a resting state, delivering baseline blood flow to muscles that are about to be asked to perform sustained work. When you launch into a brisk walk with no transition, your joints are grinding on undersized lubrication. Your Achilles tendons and the connective tissue around your kneecaps are being stretched before they've had a chance to warm and loosen. And your heart suddenly jumps from a resting rate to an exercise rate with no gradual on-ramp, which can cause blood pressure to spike sharply, a particular concern for anyone managing hypertension or early cardiovascular disease. The solution takes 3 to 5 minutes and can save you years of joint pain. Start your walk at a deliberately slow, almost lazy pace for the first 3 minutes. Think of it as a stroll, not a walk. Let your arms swing gently. Roll through your feet from heel to toe with exaggerated smoothness. During these first minutes, your synovial fluid warms and spreads across the cartilage surfaces like oil coating a pan. Your tendons lengthen gradually. Your heart rate climbs on a gentle ramp instead of a sudden cliff. After 3 minutes of this gentle movement, pause briefly and do 10 slow, controlled knee lifts on each side, marching in place. Follow that with 10 ankle circles in each direction. These simple movements tell your nervous system that it's time to support real movement, and they prime the small stabilizer muscles around your ankles and knees that protect you from missteps on uneven ground. Then begin your actual walk. The difference in how your knees feel, especially in that first quarter mile, will convince you permanently. Mistake number 4, walking on the same flat, hard surface every single day. Concrete sidewalks, asphalt roads, mall corridors, paved park loops. These are the surfaces most people over 50 walk on, and the relentless sameness is a problem from 2 completely different angles. First, hard surfaces return more impact force into your joints than softer ones. Concrete is roughly 10 times harder than packed dirt. Every step on a sidewalk sends a sharper shock wave through your heel, up your shin, and into the knee than that same step on a grass path or a packed earth trail. Multiply that difference by 5,000 steps, a typical 2-mile walk, and the cumulative load on cartilage that's already thinning with age becomes significant. Second, Flat and perfectly predictable surfaces create a dangerous kind of weakness. Your ankles, knees, and hips contain dozens of small stabilizer muscles and proprioceptive nerve endings, tiny sensors that detect shifts in balance and ground texture. When you only ever walk on flat, uniform pavement, those stabilizers atrophy from disuse. They get lazy. And then one day you step off a curb at an odd angle, or you walk across a gravel parking lot, and your ankle buckles because the muscles and reflexes that should have caught you simply weren't trained for the task. If you're over 60 or caring for an elderly loved one, this information could genuinely be life-saving. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related death for adults over 65 in the United States, and a significant percentage of those falls happen during walking, not on ice or stairs, but on mildly irregular surfaces that an untrained ankle couldn't navigate. What to do instead? At least 2 of your weekly walks should include softer, mildly varied terrain, a grass field at a local park, a packed dirt nature trail, a rubberized track at a high school. Most are open to the public during non-school hours, and those surfaces are wonderfully forgiving on aging joints. Even walking on a well-maintained gravel path once a week challenges those stabilizer muscles and rebuilds the proprioceptive reflexes that keep you upright when the ground surprises you. You're not training for a mountain hike. You're training your body to handle the small imperfections of everyday life without buckling. Mistake number 5, walking too fast before you're strong enough. And this is the one almost everybody gets backwards. There's a deeply ingrained belief that a good walk must be a brisk walk. You've heard the advice 1,000 times. Walk at a pace that makes you slightly breathless. Get that heart rate up, push yourself. And yes, cardiovascular conditioning matters. But for many people over 50, especially those returning to exercise after a sedentary stretch or managing joint issues, chasing speed before building foundational strength is like putting a race engine in a car with worn-out suspension. You'll go fast, you'll also fall apart. Here's the mechanism. Walking speed increases impact force exponentially, not linearly. Moving from a leisurely 2-mile-per-hour stroll to a brisk 3.5-mile-per-hour power walk doesn't just increase the load on your knees by 75%, it changes the entire biomechanical pattern. Your foot strikes harder. Your stride lengthens involuntarily. Your body leans forward. Your lower back compensates by arching. And your heart, if it's not accustomed to this effort level, gets flooded with demand signals that can trigger arrhythmias or dangerous blood pressure elevations in people with underlying cardiovascular conditions they may not even know about. The smarter sequence, and this is what most physical therapists and sports medicine physicians will tell you, is strength first, speed second. Before you ever try to walk fast, make sure the muscles that support your walking joints are actually strong enough to protect them at higher intensities. 3 exercises done at home 3 times a week change everything. First, wall sits. Stand with your back flat against a wall and slide down until your thighs are roughly parallel to the floor, or as close as you can manage comfortably. Hold for 15 to 30 seconds. This builds the quadriceps, the massive muscle group on the front of your thigh that controls how your kneecap tracks and absorbs impact during walking. Second, standing calf raises. Rise up on your toes, hold for 2 seconds, lower slowly. 10 repetitions, 2 sets. Strong calves absorb shock before it reaches the knee. Third, glute bridges. Lie on your back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor, and lift your hips toward the ceiling. Squeeze at the top. 10 repetitions. This strengthens the gluteus muscles that stabilize your pelvis and protect your lower back from the rotational forces of walking. Build that foundation for 4 to 6 weeks. Then gradually increase your walking pace. Your joints will have the muscular scaffolding to handle it, and your heart will have adapted through the gentler conditioning of those initial weeks. Patience here isn't a weakness. Patience is engineering. Mistake number 6, ignoring arm swing and upper body posture. Most people think of walking as a leg exercise. Feet, knees, hips, that's where the action is. but your upper body posture and arm mechanics play an enormous role in how much stress your lower back and knees absorb, and almost nobody pays attention to them. Watch an older adult walking down the street, shoulders rounded forward, head jutting ahead of the chest, pulled toward the ground as if reading something invisible on the pavement 2 feet ahead, arms stiff at the sides, barely moving, or worse, both hands clutching a phone. This posture shifts the body's center of gravity forward, which forces the lower back muscles to work overtime just to keep you from toppling. Those muscles fatigue, tighten, and compress the lumbar spine. Meanwhile, without a natural arm swing, your torso doesn't rotate, and the counter-rotation between upper and lower body, which is supposed to distribute walking forces evenly, disappears. Your pelvis bears the full rotational load alone, grinding into the hip sockets and translating shearing forces into the sacroiliac joints at the base of your spine. The correction is postural, and it begins with your eyes. Look at the horizon, not at your feet. Pick a point roughly 20 to 30 feet ahead of you and keep your gaze there. Your chin tucks slightly, your chest lifts, and your shoulders settle back and down, almost automatically. Your peripheral vision handles obstacles on the ground. Humans walked upright across African savannas for 200,000 years, scanning the horizon for predators, not staring at their own feet. Trust the engineering. Now let your arms swing, elbows bent at roughly 90 degrees, hands relaxed, not clenched into fists, which creates neck tension, and each arm swinging forward opposite the advancing leg. Left leg forward, right arm forward. This crossbody pattern activates your core muscles and creates that natural torso rotation that unloads your lower back. If you carry your phone, put it in a pocket or a waist belt. If you listen to music or podcasts, use wireless earbuds so your hands are free. Your spine will thank you by the third walk. Mistake number 7, not resting when your body is clearly telling you to rest. This is the mistake that leads to real damage because it's driven by something that feels virtuous: discipline, consistency, the belief that skipping a walk means you're failing. Let me describe a pattern I see constantly. Someone over 50 starts a walking routine. They feel good, they walk every single day. Then one morning, their knee feels a little stiff, a dull ache behind the kneecap, or a twinge on the inside of the joint. They walk anyway, because they don't want to break the streak. The next day, the ache is a little sharper. They walk anyway. By the end of the week, they're limping through the last half mile, and the inflammation inside that knee joint has escalated from a whisper to a shout. Cartilage has no blood supply. Let me say that again because it matters profoundly. The cartilage inside your knee joint receives zero direct blood flow. It gets its nutrients through a slow, passive process. Compression and decompression cycles push synovial fluid into the cartilage matrix the way squeezing and releasing a sponge draws water into it. When cartilage is irritated or micro-damaged, it heals extraordinarily slowly because of this limited nutrient delivery. And if you keep walking on an inflamed joint without giving it recovery time, you're compressing damaged tissue before it's had any chance to repair. The damage accumulates, the cartilage thins further, and eventually you've accelerated a degenerative process that might have been manageable into something that requires medical intervention. The same principle applies to your lower back and your cardiovascular system. Persistent soreness after walks, unusual fatigue that doesn't resolve with a night's sleep, dizziness or chest tightness during exertion, these are not signs to push through. These are signals, honest and specific, from a body that needs a pause. The healthiest walking schedule for most people over 50 is not 7 days a week. It's 4 to 5 days, with rest days or gentle stretching days in between. Rest is not the opposite of exercise. Rest is where the benefit of exercise actually materializes. Muscle fibers repair, cartilage rehydrates, tendons recover their elasticity, your cardiovascular system adapts and strengthens. All of this happens during rest, not during the walk itself. Grant yourself permission to take a day off without guilt. That single shift in mindset protects your body more than any pair of shoes or walking technique ever could. So let's bring it together. 7 mistakes, 7 corrections, each one quietly powerful. 1. Where properly fitted, Recently replaced walking shoes with firm heel support. 2. Shorten your stride so your foot lands beneath your hips, not ahead of them. 3. Warm up for 3 to 5 minutes with slow walking and gentle joint movements before picking up your pace. 4. Vary your walking surfaces to include softer terrain and mild irregularity at least twice a week. 5. Build leg and glute strength before chasing speed. Patience is engineering, not weakness. 6. Stand tall, look at the horizon, and let your arms swing freely in a natural cross-body pattern. 7. Rest when your body asks for rest, because recovery is where healing lives. None of these changes require expensive equipment. None of them require a gym membership or a personal trainer. They require attention. They require the willingness to examine a habit you've done your entire life and ask honestly whether you've been doing it in a way that serves the body you have now, not the body you had at 30. Walking is still one of the finest things you can do for your health after 50. That hasn't changed. What's changed is how your body needs you to do it. Honor that, and your knees, your back, and your heart will carry you for years and years to come. If this information was useful to you, do something small that matters. Share this video with someone you love who walks regularly. A spouse, a sibling, a friend, a parent. They might be making one of these mistakes right now and have no idea. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. We cover health topics specifically for people over 50 every single week, and the information here could change how you feel 6 months from now. And drop a comment below telling me which mistake surprised you the most or which one you've already been making without realizing it. I read every single comment, and your experiences help shape the topics I cover next. Take care of yourselves, walk well, walk wisely, and I'll see you in the next one.